I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Brian Wilson.
And joining us now, the former Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia and advisor to Senator Ted Cruz. He's also been described as the Cruz Delegate Czar.
Oh, wow.
I've always wanted to have a title like that. Ken Cuccinelli joins us on the line. Is it okay that you accept that title of Delegate Czar?
I prefer Delegate Hunter with the notion that the season is open until late July.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, listen, let me say to you, if that's your assigned job, one would have to say you're doing a pretty good job at it because you've been racking up delegates that many people thought perhaps would not be yours to grab.
Well, that is the idea, is to make gains and to convince people that Senator Cruz's vision for growing the economy and reducing special interest power and increasing freedom and so forth is the best one. He's going to be in Frederick talking about it today, and that's something that's succeeding for us with delegates. These are grassroots people who pay attention to those kinds of details, and Senator Cruz is really just knocking it out of the park on those sorts of principle-based positions that people care about, that affect their lives, and yet American security.
And yet, yesterday, it became very clear that he has been mathematically eliminated from ever any kind of path that would get him to 1237.
Well, no, you're talking about the first ballot, and look, nobody's going to win it on the first ballot straight out. So we're going to be in a competitive convention situation, and we're building for that. And this is an ideal campaign for that. It's grassroots based. Which to do, you have to have principles and positions that match those principles, and ideally, as Senator Cruz has, a record to prove you'll stand up to Washington and do what you say. And that's very motivating to the grassroots. It has been a foundation that's been easy to build a delegate operation on, and we're going to build it all the way to Cleveland.
Ken Cuccinelli, how do you respond to the accusations that the process in Colorado that ended up with your candidate Ted Cruz getting pretty much all of the delegates there without a single vote being cast, or even more so in Georgia, where Donald Trump in the popular vote, the straw poll basically, or the actual election, he won that state, but most of the delegates are now going to be dedicated to Ted Cruz.
Let's characterize what he won. He got 37 or 38% of the vote, something like that. He got 57% of the delegates. My memory's not perfect, but I don't remember Donald Trump complaining that getting 50% more delegates than your vote share was terribly unfair or rigged in some way.
Yes.
So, and his total vote count in delegates is much higher than his vote share, and you have to get a majority to be the Republican nominee. And Ted Cruz is doing something Donald Trump is not, and that is building a coalition to a majority. And if you can't do that, not only can't you win the nomination, but there's no reason anyone should expect you to be able to win in November. That's the kind of winning by addition a candidate has to do, and Ted Cruz is proving he can do it.
I understand that argument, and I completely respect it. But I just again, I'd love your response to the idea that yes, Ted Cruz is building a majority of delegates, but not building a majority of Republican voters. And is that a concern going to November?
He most certainly is, and this is why we're going to have a competition in Cleveland, and that's because nobody's going to get to a majority before Cleveland. And so the voters' representatives are going to all gather, 2,472 of them, and if you don't get a majority of those, you aren't the nominee, and literally we'll keep going until somebody does.
But about that, let's say that you go to the convention and nobody has 1,237 delegates, and the first ballot goes and nobody is chosen. Nobody gets to that level, and your whole strategy is to be ready to go on the second ballot. But
Right.
if that happens and you do prevail, you will have, alienated a lot of people who came to the Republican Party because they're enthusiastic about Donald Trump, who can make the case that in the popular vote, he got more votes than Ted Cruz did, and they're going to feel sort of denied, aren't they?
Well, everybody wants to win, but so do the other 15 candidate supporters, 5 of whom are supporting Ted Cruz now. And, Ted has been saying for 2 months, as have many other people, that Donald Trump hasn't won here. Pick the state, Louisiana, so on and so on. He got 41 to 39 in Louisiana, but 60% of Republicans voted against him. So the question is, when other people drop out, why can't he get the support of those people? And why can Ted do it? And it's because Ted's a better candidate who represents more Republicans, and if he wins, it's only going to be because he represents a broader scope of Republicans than Donald Trump. And that's just, that's just because he's a better candidate. He's got a better vision for America, and it's working with delegates. It's working with Republicans, and 65,000 people in Colorado participated in that Ted Cruz sweep. That was a very large election.
Ken Cuccinelli joins us, of course, the former Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And you mentioned that Senator Cruz will be in Frederick today. Maryland is the next big primary coming up this Tuesday. You know this region pretty well. Of course, Maryland is a little different than Northern Virginia, but in many ways there are similarities. What does Ted Cruz have to do to convince Maryland that he's the right choice? Because he's not doing so well in the polls right now, and I am actually a little surprised by that.
He wasn't doing very well before Wisconsin either, and he shattered all records for votes for any Republican for president ever in Wisconsin, and so he's there today, and he's obviously paying the attention and giving it the love it deserves. Maryland, my Maryland, is that it? I'm Virginian, so
yes.
As close I get. But it's really the same formula as everywhere. Is he comes and actually talks to real people in their neighborhoods, in their backyards, like in Frederick, about what his plans mean for their life, and he can go deep on these things. And he's Donald Trump can't do that. Ted Cruz can. And so when people ask questions, they get more details. They see how it helps their lives, how it reduces the federal government's power over their destiny, and leaves more money in their pocket and less in special interests. And that sort of vision has worked in Wisconsin. It's real. People have kicked the tires, and it's been tested. And it's something Ted carries forward very well. And I think people in Maryland are going to be glad to hear it. And I think they're going to respond like people in Wisconsin did.
Well, Ken Cuccinelli, let me just say that, I'm on record as saying that your candidate has run a brilliant campaign. There is no doubt about it. It's been almost flawless. And if the goal is to win on the second ballot, you're a key part of all that. So congratulations to you there. It is interesting that we talk about here in WMAL how we're the station where Washington comes to talk, and a great number of people in Maryland listen. We sure would love to have Ted Cruz join us here while he's campaigning in the Free State. Would you pass that on for us?
I will pass that on. I'll tell him my very favorite people on radio were asking for it.
Yes, we're dying for more Cruz. All right, listen, Ken Cuccinelli, former Attorney General, and we're going to call you the Delegate Hunter for Ted Cruz.
Yeah,
it's good to have you. Thanks a lot.
Hunters have better hats than czars. See,
really?
czars have like a fez.
Much better than czars.
Yeah.
It's got a Second Amendment ring to it.
That's true. Exactly.
Czar has got just too much government power ring to it.
Not that you are exercising your Second Amendment rights when finding delegates.
No.
Let's just be clear on that.
He doesn't want to hurt them.
No,
absolutely not.
All right. Thanks, Ken.
You guys.
It's good to have you on the show.